So you two, you've been together a year. Have you guys got kids? No, not at all. I'm going to talk to you, sir. What's your name again? Jack. Jack, I am here to tell you something. Here to tell you a secret. I'm here to tell you the best part about being a dad. All right? Do you want to know the best part about being a dad? Come in. Come in. The best part about being a dad, mate, is the moment that you realise one day you'll die. The moment you realise that is the happiest moment of your life.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Wrestle Blog podcast. It is time for another interview. Feels like a while since we've had one. We've had all kinds of amazing people from the world of wrestling. And that's why I'm really excited about my guest today, because he's not only a friend, but he's also somebody who's a little bit different. We have big, burly wrestlers. We have referees. We have all sorts. But we don't really have masters of ceremonies, hosts, great voices of wrestling. But they have so much value to what we do, and they add so much. And as everyone knows, I work a lot of ring crew jobs. I work as a videographer, a photographer, and things of that nature. And the CV goes on. So it's great to have somebody different, and you might recognize him, particularly if you're a part of Odyssey Pro Wrestling up north. It is the beautiful SilentMark.
Hello.
Hello, mate.
How are you? I'm very well, thank you. How are you?
Not bad, not bad. Our
Good.
friendship starts with Colosseum and will end with death, no question, and then beyond.
Oh, definitely.
Definitely, there'll be shenanigans in the afterlife. You're immediately one of the best friends I've made in wrestling, which is really cool. Wrestling's full of politics. Wrestling's full of egos and attitudes and things of that nature. So getting to meet somebody who doesn't care about that, isn't involved in that, is really exciting because it's a fresh start, so to speak. Where does wrestling start for you in terms of fandom? Have you always been a wrestling fan?
No, wrestling. So when I was younger, we weren't very well off, and I was a kid of the 80s and 90s. So wrestling for us was really just Sky doing WWF back in the day. So was always wanting to watch it, but never got to because we didn't have the opportunity to. My first proper wrestling show and proper watching of wrestling was actually in Morecambe, where I live and where I do Odyssey. We had a venue called the Dome back in the old FWA days, sorry. And I went with my friend Lewis, my old comedy partner Eva Lewis. He took me there and it was wonderful. Properly fell in love with it. Same show where Rockstar Spud. It was a Rumble match. I still remember this. He went over the ropes and then looked at my mate and just went, "I caught me plums on the rope." And it was one of the greatest times ever. But that's kind of where I started with it. And then slowly got into WWE and watching that type of stuff.
Your humor comes through in wrestling. You've got a great personality. You're very funny. And you've just got a very likable persona. Wrestling, people forget wrestling should be fun, I feel. Absolutely, it's great to have the serious, big, burly guys. There's the death matches. The whole point of wrestling is it's a variety act. That's how I look at it, at least. I know everyone has a difference of opinion. It's very subjective, but that's the point of it. If you're
it's a pantomime.
Yeah.
The way I look at it, it's a pantomime. It's a play. And you've got goodies, you've got baddies, and they are amazing athletes, and there is proper stuff on the line, but there isn't the thing of you can support one or the other. You have to support one of them because the other one is against you and the area. And it's very much a pantomime, but such a good version of it, if you will. But you're right, the fun of it needs to come out.
Yeah, there's a lot of value in the comic books and the nerd culture now that may not necessarily. So back in the day, back in the old sort of dusty rooms and even the early days of FWA and well before that with World of Sport, the idea was that you were trying to make the business seem real. We're still trying to do that, but I think people are in on it now. They understand what's going on. They understand that what's kayfabe, what's not. The internet blew a hole in the side of wrestling from that perspective. So instead of collapsing, what we've done is we've tried to evolve the business around that and make it something a little bit different. Back then, you wouldn't get guys, commenting about what they've done in front of the audience. They wouldn't be exposing the business. Nowadays, you kind of have to get all the value you can from the business. They know what we're doing, but we still present something that people can get lost in, very much like watching superhero films and stuff like that. How does the geek culture play in with you? Do you feel like being a nerd, being a geek, being into comics, being into superheroes and villains and things like that, does it feel like all of that stuff now has much more value, and especially for someone like yourself?
It does. I've been a nerd all my life with loads of different things: music, comedy, comic books. I am a nerd. That's it. I am a nerd, and I've always kind of been on the offshoot of culture, if you will. Not, I don't want to sound wanky, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
I've not been in the mainstream, shall we say. Not actively. I haven't tried to kind of go against the mainstream. I just liked what I like. And now nicely, some things that I like are coming into the mainstream again. So it's been a huge part of what I am. It's been a huge part of what I do. And I try and bring as much of that into everything that I do, whether it's work that I do in my real life or stuff like this.
Do you feel that I obviously don't know you well enough yet, although that will certainly change as time goes on. Is Odyssey your only real regular gig in wrestling?
It is my only regular gig in wrestling, and that started by accident.
How did you find your way into Odyssey?
It was through Evil Lewis, who I mentioned before. He was working as an interviewer for, back then it was Alpha Omega Wrestling. Loads of different promotions have kind of handed over the baton to different people over in Morecambe, and went from XWA to paid promotions, then to Alpha Omega. And Lewis he started off as a security guard there and then started doing interviews. Because I hung out with him a lot and because I went to the shows, I became a face that people would recognize. And because I wait for Lewis at the end of shows, they'll be like, Mark, can you just give us a hand with this? So I started helping with, taking the ring out and stuff like that. And the more I got him, the more I went there, they went, Mark, we're short of someone. Do you mind coming in and just doing security for us? And then that went to interviewing. So I was the interviewer for a bit. And then they said, right, we want Lewis to be a ring announcer, but because you two are already a double act, we want you to do ring announcing as well. They already know Lewis. You can go in and do your stuff and what you do. And that's kind of where it went. So I did that, then did it with Ethan Edwards, who is the general manager of Odyssey Pro Wrestling, and now just do it by myself. And my first show with this just shows the time when you're saying before about bringing fun into wrestling. The crowd are really, really good at Odyssey, but were quite quiet back in the day. There's an old saying of it's real in Morecambe because it is. These guys love the wrestlers. They feel it with their heart, every single thing, up to the point where I can walk down the street in Morecambe. One of the wrestling fans will still ask me why I didn't get involved in such a storyline, because it matters to them and it's absolutely stunning. When I first started, the crowd were very enthusiastic, but didn't quite get as involved as they could. So I went on and did my background is in radio and stand-up. So I started bringing some of that towards it. And I just remember about halfway through going, right, are you ready for the next match? And nobody said anything. And I just went, right, in which case we'll have some quiet time. And they didn't quite know how to deal with it. But slowly and surely, I call it shambolic nature, just kind of, I brought more and more of that in. And now they expect anything of me. The fact that if I get the promotion name right throughout the entire show, they applaud me, it means something. But yeah, that's how I got involved, and it is the only place that booked me, because I like to think of myself as a hard sell. People will enjoy what I do, and they do enjoy what I do, and I get a very good reaction in what I do. But trying to sell what I do to people who haven't seen me yet is a difficult one.
I think
Whether that's in,
that's why I was excited to have you on, because
yeah,
you are very different to the traditional MC, the ring announcer. There's loads of different names. People call them different things. I just say the announcer sometimes, but then it could be play-by-play, whatever it is. And we saw that obviously with Colosseum, which is where we met. You were afforded an opportunity to be the host. And then obviously Jessie, who's a wonderful soul blesser, she did the traditional announcing, so to speak, and then obviously I was doing commentary, and you know, there's all these different working parts, and you were one of the people that stood out most to so many people. What was lovely about that show was so many of my old friends that I used to go to wrestling with just as a fan, because I'm still, you know, just because I work in the business, I'm not one of these people who's like, oh, I'm not a fan anymore, I'm one of the boys or one of the work. I don't care about that stuff. I love the business, and I'm a fan of the business, and that's how I got into it, by being a lifelong fan of wrestling. And for me, I'm sitting there as a fan and thinking, oh, this guy's really engaging. That's exactly what everyone said to me. All my friends were like, he's super engaging, super funny, super different. I sort of mentioned on the day, there was a little touch of the madness about it, the way you were presented, and things like that, which is very cool, because madness is something that's embedded in 80s and 90s culture. And you have something that nobody else has. Different energy, different vibe. Also, being from the Midlands, getting more towards the north, I really enjoy the humor from that more. There's much more of a, you know, the old phrase for me when I was a kid, my family used to always say to me, the further north you go, the more friendly people get. And it does feel like that. I'm not shitting on it. I know you're a big you've got a very big passion for London and Southern culture and things like that. But I do like the fact that when I go back home, for instance, back to Lincoln, people ask you how your day is. Oh, what do you do? What are you up to? Don't get much of that, especially down in Kent. It's not hostile. It's just very enclosed and very introverted. You mentioned stand-up. How long did you do stand-up for before you found wrestling?
So my relationship with stand-up is a weird one. I only really did like kind of open mic competitions. So I didn't properly get into stand-up. I did 5 minutes here, there, and everywhere. Did it on and off for about 2 years, and then didn't do it for another 8 years. And it was between then, basically. Between then. But it was after I started properly with radio. Which is when everything kind of came into force with wrestling, and that was through the relationship with Eva Lewis.
When I hear about stand-up, the people I know that work in stand-up full time, I'm blessed that I know people in all kinds of professions. What I'm fascinated by is the similarities between what they do and what we do in the wrestling world. So they travel around, they pick up a small fee. Sometimes they work for nothing. They look for exposure and things like that. They have to be their own businessman. They have to bring their own gear. You know, they have to dress for the job and things like that. And then they're out there by themselves, and they're expected to entertain a group of people, a room full of people who are looking for something very different to any other kind of medium of entertainment. Is it fair to say that what you've learned in the world of stand-up applies somewhat in the world of wrestling?
Yes, I would. I've seen some great ring announcers. Greg Lambert, who was involved with XWA, has written some amazing books on British wrestling. Just absolutely stunning. He started off, and he's a very good presenter, very good host. It's all very dry. It's all very explaining. Very, very knowledgeable bloke. And I would put him up there with one of the greats. Jessie, who was obviously down at Colosseum, who I saw and properly fell for. I think she's a wonderful human being and such a great spirit and such a great presenter. She brought in that little bit of humor that I love in an announcer. Just kind of grabbing hold of something, grabbing hold of a storyline, grabbing hold of an attitude of a wrestler, and bringing that into what she did. That for me is is a more engaging, not I wouldn't say better type of ring announcer, a more engaging type of ring announcer, because it's not like they're just reading out the menu, they're properly invested.
Yeah, there's that organic reaction, isn't there? Because wrestling's it's like a living, breathing entity. It changes. We all lay out what we want to do for the night, and people micromanage and whatever. But everything changes. Things change. There's injuries. There's all kinds of different things. Not necessarily negative either. There's a lot of positives as well. The fans, like for instance, Jim Diehard's match. Everyone starts chanting Uncle Albert, and he does the little, and it's that thing of like, oh, there's a guy who gets it. There's a guy who's listening to what's going on around him. He's not just focused on, right, I'm going to deliver this match. And that's the style I'm getting from you. You literally work off of the organic feel and the nature of everything that's around you. Is that hard to do, or is that something that's naturally always been within you?
I think I've worked on that a bit. That was with my stand-up. I kind of I get the feel of a room now a little bit more. But I've always tried to be that class clown type person. The reason I got into comedy, mental issues. But I try and feel a room, and I know when they're not enjoying it. Well, I know when they're not wanting what I do. So then I can move. I feel like I'm very good at moving around an audience for their specific needs, if you will. There are some shows where I've gone up and I haven't done any jokes. I've done the Greg Lambert style rather than the Jesse style.
Yeah.
Because I think there is a very good place for both. And I work around each of them.
Do you know Jim Smallman, who used to be the MC for Progress?
No, of Jim Smallman. Haven't met him. I'm a fan of his. Listened to his podcasts back in the day. Watched his stand-up. If anyone can find it, Jim Smallman's stand-up. Is it My Girls? I think it's called. The show about his wife and his daughter. Beautiful show. Exactly what stand-up should be. So yeah, but rate Jim Smallman a lot. But I was once described. It was actually my first show for Odyssey. Described as Jim Smallman Morecambe's Jim Smallman in an ill-fitting suit.
I brought it up because it does feel like there's similarities. You're not Jim Smallman, but you share a lot of traits, values. He would always come out, especially in London, where people are very kind of frenetic. They've got a place to be and they need to be at that place. And then so when they take time to go and watch wrestling, right, entertain me, then I can get on the tube and bugger off home. There's a very much more forthright attitude, This is why I'm excited about getting to shows up north and stuff, because I imagine there's a little bit more of a sense of warmth about what we're doing. Everything can be very mechanical, which is why Jim Smallman was very cool, because he would come out and he was a very different type of MC. All of a sudden, he's chatting to people, he's getting them to stand up, he's giving them the business, he's telling them that it's their round and things like that. And it's that warmth and that realness and that organic character. And what do we always hear in wrestling? The best people are the ones who present themselves as themselves with the volume turned up. With you, I don't feel like you even need to turn up the volume. You just present yourself as, here I am, I'm SilentMark. Where does the name come from with SilentMark?
That came from school. I left one school to go to another in sixth form. And I didn't know anyone, and I'm quite a quiet person in general. I'm very nervous around people. Depending on my mood, my nerves can go either one way or the other. They can either go to, I am going to be as outlandish as possible. You may be insulted, you may not. You may just think I'm a bellend. Or it can be, I'm in a corner and I'm silent and you're genuinely not going to hear from me. The Christmas in the first year I was there, they do a show every year to the sixth form. And I was involved in most of it. And when they were like, oh, well, who's doing this sketch? They went, oh, well, this person and Mark. And they went, what, SilentMark? As in, I was literally just silent in the corner. And I kind of got it from there. And been like that since I was 21 years now, apparently.
21 years as a SilentMark.
Yes.
Are you aware of the connotations of marks and smarks and things like that in wrestling? Yeah.
Oh, so very much so. Yeah.
That must play in quite nicely to that. Like, do you get people thinking, oh, is that because you're a mark for the business? Not realizing that actually that's just the name.
No. People genuinely don't take that. They actually focus more on the silent of, you're not very silent. I went, yeah.
Yeah, it's
That's why they call a little lad Big Dave or something. It's just what they do.
Yeah, that's true. Actually, to be fair, there's a lad who works at a show down south. He kind of comes and helps out. A lad with learning difficulties, and he's like 6'10", and everyone calls him TD. Yeah, that's just that thing of like, you either say what you see, or you kind of, be ironic about it. So Odyssey Pro comes knocking, and you eventually kind of work your way into that. Now it's been a case of everyone knows who you are as much as they do the talent that work the shows, and there's some extremely talented people working these shows. What's the feeling with Odyssey? Is it that thing of like, because I've noticed you don't work anywhere else other than Odyssey, and you've done the one show for Colosseum. Would you like to work more, or are you happy just being the guy from Odyssey?
A bit of both, really. I'd love to work other places. I really would. But I want to do things that I'd enjoy. And I want to go somewhere that I'd enjoy and be with people I enjoy being with. And that for me is it. I don't have anything else. I just want to enjoy what I'm doing. There's no point in doing a hobby if you're going to dread doing it. Odyssey is a hobby of mine. I don't do it for money. I don't do it for any other reason than I love the people there. I have fun doing it, and that's my night. Colosseum was the same. They gave me the opportunity for some strange fucking reason, which I still don't get. They gave me the opportunity and I went for it. If other people see what I do and want to book me, sounds weird coming from my mouth, but yeah, if they want to book me, then fucking yeah, I'd be all up for it.
Awesome. No, I was going to say, let's zone in on Odyssey a bit, because a lot of people watching this will probably be part of it and will want to know. And just as a quick, like, cheap, nasty Wrestle plug, pun intended, feel free to come on. You're all welcome on. Like, I'd love to have you on. It's great. The more people I can have and the more people I can share their story with and share their brand, that's important to me. Wrestle plug doesn't make a penny, never will. It's about entertainment, and it's about helping people out as well. And also being a bit of a shit house at times when it comes to things that I don't like, which is why I've got
that's just me. That's just
British,
me.
British Jim Cornette, outrageous. Thank you very much for that nickname. Very flattering, actually, considering how important he is in wrestling. For me, I look at Odyssey and I immediately get this really good vibe. So it's presented well. You can see from the graphic behind me. You can see from what we're going to show on screen. It's very well done. It's very professional, but it hasn't sacrificed that happiness and that sense of well-being, that family orientation that so many companies lack. It's based in Morecambe, right up north. It's a trek, but for the people that are local to it, it's a living, breathing, exciting entity. It's their day out for the month. In a nutshell, tell me what Odyssey is to you.
I could probably tell you a lot about Odyssey in one small story, which is the first time I went, I didn't realize what I was in for. And I never knew that I would hear a crowd chanting for a raffle.
The famous Morecambe raffle.
The famous Morecambe raffle. And
love a raffle.
I then grabbed hold of it and made it my own. And yeah, I've messed about with a crowd with a raffle. Fucking love a raffle. Because they always know it's coming up, because they try and do this big thing of getting people all hyped up for it. One show I chose to go another way. I started going, right, before the next match, I want to tell you all the story. Did you guys know that Sylvester Stallone actually came to Morecambe? In about the 80s, it was just after Rocky 2, I think it was. He came over, he was doing a short film called Rocky, A Very Northern Christmas. Story revolving around Rocky's family being from the north of England, and he went over to kind of help celebrate, and there was a fight and all that type of stuff. And he was sat on the prom in Morecambe, and this little lad, he was trying to figure out the end of this film. He'd already filmed most of it. He had the Alien 3 thing of he hadn't found the ending yet. And he was sat on the prom, he had his head in his hands. This little lad came up to him and he went, I can't do the accent. He went, Mr. Stallone. No, he went, no, piss, missed out the joke there. I'll do that again. You don't need to edit it. This little lad came up to him and went, Mr. Stallone, what's wrong? And Sylvester Stallone turned around to him and said, I can't do the voice. He went, well, I'll tell you what, mate. I can't do the voice. He went, I've been writing this film. We're filming it. I can't figure out the end of it. And he goes, well, what about if halfway through the match, he just goes, no, it's Christmas. He shakes hands with the other boxer and he goes back to his families and they all have a nice big party. He goes, you know what? It's a great idea. Thank you very much. And what he did was he went back to his room and wrote up the concept to the Morecambe Raffle. And the crowd were fucking on the edge of their seats throughout the entire bit. For me, it's that. For me, it's grabbing hold of for Morecambe Wrestling for Odyssey. It's the audience are there in the palm of your hands with what you have in the ring, whether it's me talking shit or whether it's the stories and the wrestlers and the people there. The audience are what makes it. And you've said about it being family friendly and you said about it being enthusiastic and warm, and it is. But the thing that makes it special and the thing that makes it somewhere that people want to go and the reason why there's so many people raving on about Morecambe Wrestling is because of the crowd. For me, that's what it is. That's all it is.
Yeah, the COVID proved that better than anything else, that nothing is anything without its fans. Football, sports, theatre, wrestling included. Wrestling without fans was not fun. Not good, and it's not good to watch either. Whether it be WWE or Alpha Omega or Odyssey or Colosseum, it doesn't matter what it is. It needs fans. It needs to feel like it's a living, breathing entity. And Odyssey feels like something where everything matters. Like everything's important and everything's fun as well. The wrestling is top quality, top draw. Booked well. The graphics are beautiful. From somebody who comes from that field, I look at it and I think, it just jumps out, it grabs me. I think, great work, fantastic work. Everyone involved is doing a great job. And, this is one of those places where maybe it's a negative. So it's in Morecambe. And Morecambe's difficult to get to if you don't live in Lancashire or in that region. I live in Kent. For me, Morecambe is a 650-mile round trip. It's one that I'm more than happy to make, but a lot of fans wouldn't. Is it fair to say it would have more notoriety if it was based elsewhere?
I'd say it would. But again, you wouldn't have the crowd. We do shows occasionally in Blackpool, and the Blackpool shows feel different to the Morecambe shows. It's still Odyssey, but it's not quite the same Odyssey. And I think that's where it matters. We'd be able to do the same show down in London and it'd be good. People would enjoy it. But without the crowd, I'm not sure if the wrestlers would feed off it the same.
Yeah.
I think that's because I've not been in a different crowd. The wrestlers may be able to tell you something different. But yeah, I don't think that the show wouldn't go over the same, I don't think.
It works because it's in Morecambe.
Yeah. So I think for me, our champion at the moment is a gentleman called Ryan Hunter, who is part of a group called the Spotlight, who are unpleasant people, led by Chris Brooker, who's a comedian, well known in wrestling circles. And Ryan wasn't. He was always he was Morecambe's boy. He started off in Alpha Omega as a cameraman, and he kept on getting abuse from the wrestlers. He kept on getting abuse from one of the owners. And the more he fought back, the more he just wanted to go further with it. So he then started training and became a wrestler and has done all sorts of stuff. And he's just blown up. He's gone further and further and further. Was on 5-Star Wrestling back when that was a thing. He went to one of the shows. I forget who he was wrestling, but he was one of the surprise entrants and blew me away, properly blew me away. And when we came back, he was our first champion, which he was well deserved.
Mm.
Then on one show, he turned, and it was a 3-way match. My memory's fucking awful, so I apologize to everyone at Odyssey if I'm shitting this up. It was him, and I think it was Andre Decker, and it was a lad called RPD from Blackpool. Ryan Paul Davis, brilliant wrestler. He's going to go places. Is RPD, but RPD and Ryan were in the ring, and Ryan was handed a chair to get Decker with, and he turned and twatted RPD, and there was silence in the room, which I've never seen, especially in the Morecambe room. Never seen silence like it. And then people realized what had happened, and then there was upset, a lot of upset. I'm not sure there would be that in different places.
How's the like, obviously with an invested crowd, they're going to want stories and they're going to want theatre and drama. Looks to me like Odyssey delivers that better than most.
We do deliver it very well. That's one of the things. One of our matches that we will have at some point is going to be Jenny B versus Helena Razor, who's up from our area as well, because there is an unnecessary rivalry between those after Jenny B and her other half attacked Helena Razor and me during a raffle. But again, Helena just was someone who was there for a raffle, and Jenny B was insistent, and we play those stories very, very well. The rivalry between Alexis Falcon and Tonga has been going for years, and we live up to that. The story is very, very important, and we play those out very, very well.
What's the is there a clamoring for SilentMark to be in the ring, to be physical?
No. I'd love to do it. Would love to do it. I am not physical in the slightest. I am an unfortunate physique of a man.
You're in better shape than me, so if I can do it, you can do it.
You've not seen the disaster underneath this, mate.
No,
someone at work today. Someone at work actually pointed out. Someone pointed out my tits at work today. It wasn't pleasant.
That's the heartbreaker as a man, isn't it?
Yeah.
No, I've had that before. Like,
I had to turn around and go, they're not pectorals, they are just plain old tits.
Yeah, they are just fatty deposits, darling. I'd
love to be able to do it, and I'm more than willing to if the time is right. Yeah, not done it yet.
The great defender of the raffle. It sounds good. What's just out of curiosity? What's available on the world famous Morecambe raffle?
We do a Odyssey Pro Wrestling wristband. We do a signed poster.
Want one of those?
We do a t-shirt, Odyssey Pro Wrestling t-shirt. We do 2 tickets to the next show. So our next show for this one, Panic Station, is October 1st. We gave tickets for that out last show. And then the star prize is always a signed steel chair.
Awesome.
That is occasionally used in matches.
Yeah, I'm desperate for one of those. Yeah, I've had them wielded against me. Never wielded one myself.
When I was a fan, I genuinely wanted to win it. Just to
I want to
have it up in my house, and just to have it up in my house and upset my other half.
Yeah, that's quite. How have the family taken? Have the family taken to wrestling at all?
My son now requests to go to it. My daughter now requests to go to it. Both of them love watching it. Yeah, whole family loves coming.
So they'll be getting a steel chair at some point.
Oh yeah,
in a
very
good
much so.
In a positive.
Yeah,
way.
yeah.
I
don't know.
Situations.
Sometimes you need to discipline.
That's true. Argument. That's true. Yeah, like you got to keep it in the business, and if you wield a steel chair, then more often than not, kids will come down for dinner on time.
Of course they will.
But of course, at WrestlePlug, we would never advocate use of a steel chair on the children.
No, SilentMark wouldn't
your own
either.
business?
SilentMark wouldn't either. It's usually one of the bamboo sticks.
Kendo sticks. Yeah, they're pretty useful. Yeah, I can imagine. I'm grateful I didn't grow up with my younger sisters and older brother and sister because things would have got really gnarly very quickly. The use of the elbow drop off the sofa, which is par for the course. Don't try this at home. Try it in your front garden instead.
Genuinely had to tell my kids, right, if you're going to do any wrestling moves, the only person you're allowed to do it on is me. You are not allowed to do it on each other. Went out, saw them both on the trampoline trying to wrestle. I went, right, both of you. I know what you're doing. Stop it.
You call that a collar and elbow tart? Let me show you how it's done. Brilliant. Well, we'll have some people around as well to get involved in that at some point. That must be the joy of raising children, I imagine, being able to teach them the joys of wrestling. Wrestling
it's one
for them.
Yeah, it's one thing that I love about parenting. I am forcing my love of popular culture onto my kids. So my daughter started reading comics and she started to watch comedy that I enjoy. I took both of them to go and see the punk band The Interrupters the other week. And I mean, I'm a terrible father. I should not be taking my 5-year-old out until 11 o'clock at night, but we had fun.
That's the dad I wanted.
And that's it for me. When I started doing wrestling, their mum would look after them whilst I went out and did it. And I just went, well, why don't they come with us? And I've got a picture of Felix, my son, when he was 2, just watching me in the ring. And it carried on from then. My daughter's been requesting WWE. The fact that we managed to watch a good chunk of Clash at the Castle live, my son was absolutely adoring it, genuinely asking when Alexis Falcon was coming out, which is beautiful. It was beautiful. But he does not see why the wrestlers that he sees in Morecambe shouldn't be on TV in a bit.
All of them are good enough to be. All of them are good enough to be. That seems like a good segue. We should talk about this show, Panic Station. And also, obviously, October the 1st. So there's not long now, but I know that your promoter would be screaming. You're like, talk about the show, hype it up. I know how it works. Saturday, 1st of October.
The fact that you've got the poster in the background, he will be tumescent at this point.
Oh, that's good. Like, but at the end of the day, I love promoting all wrestling. Wrestling is important, and it doesn't matter where it is. I love it. I want to consume it. I want to consume this show. If I can get a car before then, probably going to be in the crowd being an obnoxious arsehole as per normal. Although obviously PG. Saturday, 1st of October, Alhambra Live, Marine Road, Morecambe. Tickets are now currently on sale. Odyssey prowrestling.co.uk. I'm sure you'll fill in the details where needed. Big card for this one. I recognize a lot of talents, even just on the poster, but also obviously going to mark hard for Alexis Falcon because just a big fan. Everyone's a big sweaty mark for Alexis, but there's so many great talents on here. Where do we start with these matches? Where would you like to start? You're the man who knows all about it.
I don't know. If I'm honest with you, I don't know where to start because of how big all these matches are. I can't look at one of these matches and go, well, that's one that's going to be easy just to get out of the gate. Let's squeeze us in. Every single one of these is a hard hitting one. You know, you've got RPD versus 2-Bit. So RPD, who is genuinely one of the front runners for our title, and then 2-Bit, who is one of the hardest hitting wrestlers in the world at the moment. He is tremendous as a workhorse. Such a character, so aggressive. His just demeanor is there all the time. Back when it was Alpha Omega Pro Wrestling, I used to take the mick out of him. He used to be this little chav bloke who we used to call tie bites because I found it funny. I wouldn't do that now. Would not do that now in the slightest. You know, he's there as the Rat King for a fucking reason. Jennifer, the Rat Queen, by his side all the time, and it works. Genuinely, she shouted at me in one of my last shows, My son got upset because she was shouting at me. It was beautiful. But yeah, but both of them are ferocious people. And 2-bit, the 2-bit versus RPD is going to be such a huge match.
They look
again,
like
I don't know if
slapping the piss out of people.
Oh yeah, yeah, he really does, and he doesn't care. He does not have any sense of worry about anyone's well-being. If he's going to rip someone's arm off, he's going to rip someone's arm off. He don't care.
2-bit's name as well. I mean, alone is one of the more unique-looking names I've seen. The graphic will be on screen for people. You know, I look at just 2-bit's name stands out. His look stands out. Even his haircut looks like it'll slap the everlasting piss out of you. Like he's just one of those people. I think you look very scrappy, very dangerous, almost Mad Maxian in a lot of ways. What's the bad blood? What's the rivalry like between these two?
2-bit is against everyone. There isn't necessarily a rivalry between them both. He just hates everyone. So the more he can get into it, the better for him. RPD is wanting to plow through. So the organization, the Spotlight, which I mentioned before, with Chris Brooker at the head, RPD is wanting to rip through the entirety of the Spotlight. I think, I don't know the politics of it, but I think Chris Brooker put this match together because of that, because he knows that RPD is going to go in and have a lot of problems with 2-bit, because 2-bit's just relentless. He's not going to give up. Is
it fair to say this is not going to be a traditional wrestling match?
Oh yeah, and it's not going to be a pleasant one. And for as much as family friendly as we are, they don't pull punches.
The women's side of things looks super strong. Alexis Falcon and Leah Raven alone, that's got star power. I think that's fair to say. Big names in our business, but they're facing Jenny, excuse me. Although don't know who Jelly is, but I've got food on.
You know what? I'm going to make this official now. During the next show, I am going to call her Jelly B.
Jelly B.
She knows.
There you go.
Why. Yes.
What more could you ask for? She seems adorable, although she's probably going to kill me now that she's had that, so I apologize. Jenny B and Kelly Van Ness. This looks like, I mean, you know, all women obviously involved are very beautiful, very talented individuals, but there's obviously a very serious sort of rivalry going on, and obviously Alexis Falcon carrying gold as well. 4 amazing women's talents. Obviously, all eyes on Alexis Falcon, because the people who watch this will recognize her from Progress and things like that. So the fact that she wrestles at Odyssey shows you just how good a program, just how good a promotion Odyssey is, that they can draw in people with this level of quality.
Well, I think we were one of her first bookings was Morecambe Wrestling. So back in the old Alpha Omega days and now in Odyssey days. Yeah, we were one of her first bookings, and we've kept her and we've enjoyed it because the crowd absolutely adore her. Jenny B. So the whole thing with the match there, Jenny B was vaguely unpleasant. There was a lot of tiffing between a match between Alexis and Jenny B. Leah came to help out. Jenny B was not impressed with that. Chris Brooker, as he likes to, decided to get a match featuring his assistant, which is Kelly, much to my surprise, to be honest with you. I think Kelly needs to get out the spotlight, to be honest. Yeah. There's something there. I don't think she's happy, but we'll see on the next show. Because I think this will be the turning point. Either she'll go further into the spotlight, or it may go another way.
Feel like she's being drawn in.
Yeah, there was a bit of a problem. I don't know. Again, I don't know the politics. I don't know the ins and outs of it. But at the last show, something happened with one of the wrestlers and Kelly, and she was affected by it in a bad way. I think she wants to kind of come out and show people she's not just that assistant.
Yeah, because she's with all due respect, she has the look of an assistant. I don't know her well enough to sort of comment much more, but yeah, no, that's a match that I love. Women's wrestling. Women's wrestling is very important to us at Wrestle Club because we feel like, I don't want to sound like a woke warrior or anything like that, but it's just important that people are reminded of how good it is. It is wrestling, not just women's wrestling. It is wrestling, and it deserves to be on the card. And Odyssey is obviously taking it very seriously, and that immediately is going to get big brownie points here because women's wrestling deserves such a big platform. Not to say that the men, I've got a 5-way in front of me here, which looks magnificent. JJ Webb, Sam Bailey, Rob Drake, Big Guns Jur, I know him quite well, and Sandy Beach, which by the way is one of my more favorite names in wrestling. All 5 of these lads look like what's on the line here? Is this just for bragging rights, or is there going to be the potential for title shots and things of that nature?
I think that is coming about. Again, I don't get told stuff until I'm there. I see the card. I don't know the ins and outs of the matches. There's a lot riding on this match, especially for someone like Big Guns Joe. When we first started Odyssey, there was a team of Big Guns Joe, JJ Webb, and Sandy Beach. They were an unpleasant group. JJ and Sandy turned against Big Guns Joe, and Big Guns Joe is one of the fan favorites. Again, going back to how much the crowd loves Story, just now because JJ and Sandy Beach have turned against him, the crowd love him. And he works so well with that. Him working with Rob Drake will be amazing, but having JJ, Sandy Beach, and Sam Bailey at the same time, I think they're both going to be up against it. And I'd be surprised if a fan favorite came out on top in there.
It's not elimination either, is it? It's 1 fall to a finish.
I think so.
There's no mention of elimination, so my apologies.
Could be wrong. Could be wrong.
You have to bear with me.
This.
I'm a noob for Odyssey.
Ethan is going to be screaming during this. Know the matches, you prick. But yeah, you'll have to get Ethan on. Ethan can probably tell you a lot more.
Absolutely. He's definitely welcome on at some point. Sam Bailey jumps out as me as well. Sam Bailey's the kind of guy I look at him and I think, that's what I would look like if I actually cared more about how I present myself. I look at him and I just think he looks, to be fair, like he could stir the pot. Is that fair to say?
I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't say he does, but if someone told me he did, I'd be like, all right, yeah. Sam is, I think he only had his first win on the last show from memory. Again, terrible memory. I drink too much.
Don't we all?
But Sam is a very good worker, and he does fight hard. But then again, he's he trains Future Shock in up north, and he's the trainer for them.
Yeah,
there's a lot of people on this card, and a lot of people from around the country who are there and are working as hard as they are and as well as they are because of him. And as much as me and him don't get on, so there's most of these people who I'm talking about, we don't get on. But I wouldn't say they're terrible. And if someone turned around to me and said, should I book 2-bit? I'd be like, I don't like him. We don't get on. He doesn't like me very, very much, but book him. Because, yeah, he's tremendous. And Sam Bailey is another one of those. Again, JJ Webb and Sandy Beach. Sandy Beach has been injured, so I've not seen him wrestle. But, again, another one of those people that can turn a crowd off him straight away.
The match that's really standing out to me, which is probably going to have quite a bit of, it's going to have ramifications of how Odyssey looks going forward, is, I'm only going by what I can see on social media. It looks like it's for the belt. Alexander Gray challenging Hunter for the title in a Pick Your Poison match.
Yes. So again, obviously I mentioned the problem with Ryan Hunter before. Alexandra Gray came in to help RPD at the last show. And
debut for Odyssey, Alexander Gray.
No, I think he came in before, but he's
based down south, isn't he?
Yes, he is
Yeah,
from
so
around the. Yeah, Ethan knows
Alexander
him from
Gray
around the Portsmouth
wrestled.
area.
He wrestled on the same show that I made my debut for, at Renegade Pro Wrestling. Yeah, down in Exeter. Some people might recognise him as the Wolf from Ridge Wrestling. Brilliant talent, and also a lovely guy as well. How has he been received at Odyssey?
People already like him, but again, because he's got that charisma.
Yeah.
Yeah, they like him very, very much. There's a video on our Facebook page, and Twitter and TikTok and stuff like that. I'm too old for TikTok. I've no idea what I'm doing with it, but I saw a video of him on there, talking about how when he was younger, he used to want to be in films. He used to want to be on TV. He used to want to be in the spotlight until he came to Morecambe and saw the spotlight, and now does not want to be in it anymore. And it's a stunning video, really, really well done. Go to our Facebook groups and stuff like that to see the full video, but it's stunning. And just his charisma in that video itself shows you everything you need to know about the man.
Yeah, he has a lot of fire and passion for business. He was actually involved in my debut match. Actually, I answered an open challenge, a street fight against Austin Drake, and at the time he was kind of helping out Austin Drake. He was kind of at ringside, and Blake Harrison came down to kind of try and even the odds a little bit. And basically, I got a shellacking and broke my ankle as well. So,
oh shit.
Quite the debut, has to be said, but a great memory that I'll never forget, for somebody who dreamed about being a pro wrestler. But it's lovely to see the guys who work in very different, this isn't just a regional promotion. It's not just, right, let's get all the Morecambe boys in. There's people coming in from all places. Love the fact you mentioned Future Shot, one of the best training schools in the country. I have friends who have gone to Future Shock, people like Mia Cortez who have worked there. Like it's a cool place to learn how to wrestle and wrestle properly in a very decent, well-fostered environment. So it's very cool to know the Sam Bailey's there. Somewhere I'd like to, go in and sort of embarrass myself and kind of see if I can still actually do anything physical. It's a great place to go. So if you're in that region, check out.
Definitely.
What else is on this card? Because have I missed something here? I'm pretty sure I have.
We've got 2 tag team matches. Synergy versus the Wrecking Crew. I don't know much about the Wrecking Crew, but I do know that Synergy are just a set of big lads, and seeing them in a ring anytime is just amazing.
Meaty, hot.
Huge men.
Love myself. Meaty Hoss. I'll obviously be big fans of those boys. I like the Wrecking Crew.
Yeah, lovely people of Synergy. Absolutely wonderful people. You look at them and you think, oh, I'm going to get killed. And they'd be like, oh, do you fancy a pint? I'm like, oh, yeah, cheers. And they're the type of people they are. It's wonderful. But the other one we've got are Reese and Rogan from the Spotlight, and 2 up-and-comers, Lucas Neon and Nick Cutter, who are from the, I think it's Barron Furnace area, that type of place. Lucas and Nick were put together. They were our rising stars, and they were kind of put together as a tag team because they were picked on by the Spotlight. And this match is kind of like, it's now them coming to a head, where they are now against Reese and Rogan from this. Yeah, they now come again against Reese and Rogan from the Spotlight, who are again just truly unpleasant people. And I'm trying to say this in a nice way. Reese and Rogan are huge men, and they are brutal. Lucas and Nick are lovely human beings. They fight so hard. They are very much the underdogs in this.
They're going to need something extra to topple that.
Yeah, and I'm a fan of an underdog, and I adore them, and I want them to win this match. I really do, and I shouldn't. I'm supposed to be impartial. I want them to win this match. But it's going to be difficult.
You're supposed to be impartial. Do you have a favorite on the roster? Or is this going to land you in trouble?
No, it's not. There's people, I haven't got a favorite, but there's people I've got a lot of time for. Alexis is one of them. Leah Raven is one of them. Rick Marcus, adore Rick Marcus. I'll come on to Rick and Andre in a second. Lucas and Nick, properly lovely dudes. I don't have favorites, but I've got a lot of people that I keep close to my heart, shall we say?
Yeah. Let's talk about Andre Decker, right?
Yeah, Andre Decker and Rick Marcus. Andre shouldn't be in Odyssey Pro Wrestling.
Really?
When you talk to Ethan about this, when we first started getting the promotion sorted out, him and Ethan had beef back in Alpha Omega.
Okay.
When they wanted to get this all put together, Andre wanted to be in it, and Ethan went, "You know what? No, I'm not having someone that toxic in it." And then he showed up and tried to get involved, and then he showed up and tried to get involved, and he showed up and tried to get involved, and Chris Brooker signed him a contract when Ethan was out, and he was out because Andre came in at our first Blackpool show and bottled him, and he was out. He was out for Christmas. Couldn't see his family over Christmas because of this, and so there's a lot of animosity between him and Decker. With Rick Marcus in the mix, Rick's not been in the past few shows. He's not been 100%. At the last show we were at, Rick and Chris announced. Andre and Chris announced Rick's retirement, which we've not heard about. We don't know about. Rick Marcus hasn't retired. Ethan's spoken to Rick and he hasn't retired. So this is a match that Ethan desperately wanted, because Rick is coming back and we want him to show Andre Decker that he is back.
Is that the final scheduled match, or is there anything else that rounds off the card?
I don't know. I don't know. There may be surprises. Again, I'm only told what's happening on the day. When I see the card coming out on Twitter, I don't know what the matches are going to be. It's part of my shambolic nature.
Yeah, there's something very honest about that, and I think that's why I liked having you on this podcast, because there's just an honesty there, you know. Odyssey Pro, obviously. Where can people find footage and things of that nature? Is it on demand or is it available on YouTube?
We have a match on YouTube, Power 4 TV, when that was about, put up our first wrestling, our first Blackpool show. Panic Stations, I think. No, Panic Stations is this one.
It's always good to have the same names. You never know.
I can't remember the name of it, but so it was our first Blackpool show. That is up on YouTube for free. But we've got all our matches on Patreon. So patreon.com/Odyssey Pro Wrestling. £3 a month. You get access to all the shows as soon as we get them out. But you can also exactly.
Amazing.
But you can also put through we also have like votes for stipulations and votes for who you want to do the meet and greet and all that type of stuff. Really, really good value. But it's where the matches are. It's where you can see them, and you can't get them anywhere else. It's no other streaming service, but they are worth it. Very much so. Even to watch me in the first show trip over a staircase.
I'll pay £3 just to see that.
First show. I'd not even said hello to anyone.
Yeah, I assumed it was on demand of some service. That's why there's not too much in the way of clips. I'll lift what I'm allowed to lift, obviously, from social media and things. But if you want to see full match footage and things of that nature, then obviously you'll have to check out the Patreon, because I'm not about to undercut anybody and give away any footage for free. And it's important that you guys check that out. It's important to the lifeblood and what they do as a business in Odyssey. So check that out. So my apologies that you can't see too much match footage, but ultimately that's not what this is about. It's about promoting the company, not giving it away. Simple as that, really. And also for £3, come on. WWE Network's £10. Fight TV is £5, £6, whatever it might be. The cheapest and arguably the most affordable and best value for money you'll get in professional wrestling. Check it out. Check out the Patreon. Let's have a bit of random banter, shall we? Because it's not always just about wrestling. I want to talk about comics. I want to talk about superheroes. All right. So I'm a miserable bastard, right? And I'm not a big fan of Marvel. I like DC. So I like DC villains. I like the the emotion, the energy of DC much more.
Mhm.
It has some great stuff. I quite like a lot of the modern films that have just come out as well. I really like Aquaman, for instance. A lot of people panned it. I really enjoyed it. I love Jason Momoa. He's everything I wish I could look like and never will. It's the hair that really cuts me up. Like, oh man, I can braid the beard. That's about it.
The problem is, I do find that if you take away the body, he just looks like a homeless bloke.
He kind of, you've obviously seen Roman Reigns. Is he B-Tech Roman Reigns or is Roman Reigns B-Tech Aquaman?
No, Roman Reigns is B-Tech Aquaman.
Okay.
Definitely. Because yes, whilst both of them do look homeless, I do think that whilst Roman Reigns is a fucking beast, I think Jason Momoa might just top it.
Yeah, he's something different. What's your go-to when it comes to comic book culture and things of that nature? What do you enjoy most? I'm
like you. I'm a DC person. Grew up with Batman the Animated Series, and then my here you go. It's a back in time thing. My physics teacher was a terrible influence on me. I'm not going to say his name or anything like that, but he was a terrible influence on me. I used to drink with him when I was 15.
Amazing.
In a pub across the road from across the road from the school we were at. For everyone wondering, all the teachers were there, and my mother worked at the school and also knew the landlady of the pub. So it wasn't like I was doing anything that no one knew about. Yeah. But it was at the end of every night when all the teachers and us were drinking, it was me, my physics teacher, and my maths teacher. And one day, my physics teacher came up to me with 4 comic books: Ronin by Frank Miller, Watchmen, V for Vendetta, and Batman: The Dark Knight Returns.
Frank Miller did Sin City, right?
Yes, he did. So he gave me those books and just went, read those, and I did, and that's when I became a comic book fan. Going from obviously my first Batman was obviously the 66 Batman, watching reruns of that. And then Saturday morning watching Batman the Animated Series on TV back in the 90s, which apparently is 30 years old this year.
Yeah.
It was a couple of days ago. I'm an old fucker.
Yeah.
So knowing that, going from really happy and cheesy to a lot darker with the animated series, I enjoyed the darker. There was something about it. Even at the age of 7, I just thought, you know what, there's something about this which is more than just bang pow. There's a lot of stuff underneath it. And then he gave me Batman: The Dark Knight Returns, which is one of the best Batman stories there is. And I just went, yes, this is where I am. This is what I like. And I kind of went from there. And went from the kind of the light of Booster Gold in comics to the properly dark, very dark Batman comics that there are along the way. I kind of...
Sorry, carry on.
No, I was just, I kind of go in and out of independence as well. Because whilst I really like DC, I think some of the independent comics are stunning and going down the Image and Dark Horse books. There's a lot of stuff there which isn't just superhero. They're just fucking good stories. And that influenced a lot of the writing that I try and do as well. So
do you have any kind of like lust or sort of passion for maybe creating your own content in that regard?
I have tried to. There's an artist called Dan Shanley who is absolutely fucking tremendous. If you can find him, Dan's Monsters, I think, on Twitter. And on Instagram and stuff, an amazing artist. Got to know him when I went to a comic book shop in Lancaster, which is the next town over. And he was there, and me and him just got on like a house on fire. And he came up to me one day and just said, I had a dream about you. And I went, I don't need to tell me about it. And he goes, no, it's a different one. He basically had a dream where he has chickens. And chickens, if you don't know, evil as fuck. They're cannibalistic. They're just
they are nasty.
just unpleasant fucking things. but apparently they're also the thing that's around that are closest to dinosaurs. They're
Really?
kind of the closest evolutionary step. Apparently, I may be wrong.
Talons would make sense. Yeah, the claws.
Yeah. So scientists have apparently tried to take them a step backwards evolution wise. And I don't know whether he saw it or whether he just thought of it about chickens having teeth. And he said that the dream he had to do with a guy who worked for the RSPCA who hated animals having to save the world from these killer chickens. And I was apparently the dude who was the RSPCA bloke.
Okay.
And I went, "Oh, you fucker." And he goes, "What?" I said, "I've already thought of the first page of that comic." And so we did start to write the comic Foul, which is still in the works. And then we've also started writing one called Death Metal, which we like to think of it as a cross between the B movie Chopping Mall and the film Alien. That's all you need to know about it, really.
That's gnarly.
Yeah. So we've started writing that as well. That was started to release page by page online, but that kind of stopped because my brain went like that and I stopped writing. But yeah, I'm hoping to get back into it because we've got a lot of story to think up.
I could have you on for like 3 hours. I can't do that, unfortunately, because if I don't eat, I will kill somebody. So we will forego word association until I know. See, so what we normally do at the end of the podcast, if we do word association, I mention a name, and we then do so, and then you obviously you give us a word, basically. Like it's nothing fancy about it whatsoever. We'll do word association, but with a twist, because I don't know enough about Odyssey and I don't want to be arrogant enough to just try and wing it. So what we'll do is we'll do word association. So I've got a list of names here that I think you'll know. I hope you'll know. Most of them, let's be honest, are associated with Colosseum. Right before we do, just briefly, because obviously no doubt Aubrey will watch this and he'll want to talk about Colosseum as well. How was the experience of Colosseum? Because I believe it was your first experience of working a wrestling show outside of Odyssey.
Yes, I loved it. Absolutely loved it. The wrestlers were an absolute pleasure to be with. And doing my shtick in front of another crowd, I wasn't sure it would work. I'm glad it did.
You did. They loved it.
The audience seemed to like it. I made the awful decision of wearing a grey shirt on one of the hottest days of the year. So you could properly see the sweat. Yeah, you could properly see the sweat. I made light of that at the beginning of the show, and they went, "Okay, this is the type of bloke that we've got," and it worked. And they were lovely with the crowd. I absolutely adored the show.
Did you was there anyone who stood out to you that maybe you hadn't seen before that really jumped out? You thought, "Oh, wow, there's someone else."
The thing is, a lot of the names that were on that show were already very big names.
Yeah, very probably.
But it was LA Taylor versus Harley Hudson, wasn't it?
Yeah.
That match was something special to me. Because I've seen Harley's wrestled up at Odyssey as well. I just adore her. I think she's amazing.
Lovely.
Such a hard worker. She's lovely, but her wrestling is so hard and so brutal.
She built like a brick shithouse. Like people don't realize that because she's 5 foot tall. You think, and she presents herself as she would mean to go on, a very sweet, adorable human being, but she can hit like a freight train.
She fucking can. But her against LA Taylor, kind of just this mammoth of a woman, there was something special in that match that I still can't get over it now. I think it was stunning. LA Taylor was so great, but again, so powerful that even someone like Harley couldn't quite get up to it. And Harley can berate most people.
Yeah.
She'd kick I would watch Harley Hudson versus Synergy and think, you know what, that's going to be a good match. But LA Taylor was
different beast
on that show. I think, yeah, she was fucking amazing.
Amazing, and I think she's had less than 100 matches.
I know.
And you look at how talented she is. It's difficult. We could sit here all day because the quality of the wrestling, not a single match like faltered. Everything was on point. I have never worked a show where, and I've worked great shows where that from start to finish, everyone went out there and put on a clinic. You know, for the Doug Williams and the Joel Redmonds, the ones you expect to see, the guys who have been there and done it all, to the people who are maybe slightly less known. And to see so many of my friends make it on the card as well, like KM Lane's a very close personal friend of mine, and to be able to say, oh, I got to call his match. I tell you what, it's something that I never got a chance to really say thank you for, was the comfort level. So you're like me, there's a lot of mental health, there's a lot of anxiety and things like that going around. I noticed that you were sat right near the commentary table. And for me, that was such a safety net, and that meant a lot to me, because we hit it off immediately when we met. I liked you as a person, and having you there while me and Tony were sat there doing our thing was really cool, because it was that sort of thing of like, every time I felt any panic, any anxieties, I could look over and go, Mark sat there looking suave as fuck, looking like the lost member of Madness with a sick hat on and that. And I just thought that meant a lot to me, because a lot of times you're out there is no safety net in wrestling. There is no comfort. You know, there are friends and you're working with people, but there's that trust, that implicit trust that you've got to deliver, you've got to do it. You only get one go around at it. You know, unfortunately, we had to do a lot of stuff in post and things like that. So it's much harder for the wrestlers. That's when you realize how difficult it must be to be a wrestler, because they've only got the one go at it. They don't get to go back in post and go back out and sorry, that suplex didn't hit. Mind if I do it again? That ain't gonna happen. So, you know, even then, as much as like, obviously I'm able to do it in post, having that safety net, very cool. Very, very cool. And I think
well, I can actually genuinely say the same thing the other way around as well, because where I was just the host, I was the bell person on that show. Again, anxiety, depression, it all comes through. And I had the same thing, but I've genuinely thought I was out of my depth on that show. Because again, nobody ever, what, you thought I was out of my depth? Cheers, mate.
No,
you was no, it's fine. It's fine. It's one of my best things.
Better than Odyssey.
But I genuinely thought I was out of my depth. Every show I do with Odyssey, I genuinely think, why the fuck am I here? Why do they want me? Yeah. And I've genuinely got that. When Aubrey first got in touch with me and said, do you want to be on this show? We're doing it. I've seen your stuff online. I went, are you sure it's me that you want? And I had that up until the show. And I still thought at the show, I should not be here. The talent that these guys have, they shouldn't have this fucking shambles who will probably get the name of the promotion wrong. They just shouldn't have me. So, and hearing you and Tony in that background, it was the safety net. Even though I was feeling out of my depth, hearing you guys, I thought, no, there are other people here with me, not just with me doing the show, but with me emotionally as well.
Yeah, it's I had the same feeling. I remember, like, so a couple of guys that I know, I'm sure they won't mind me mentioning, but St. Mayfairs and Joel Redmond both messaged me and sort of said, like, oh, this Aubrey guy is looking to start a show and he'd like to get in contact with you. And I thought, yeah, right then. You know what wrestling's like. I just thought, yeah, sure. And I remember him contacting me and sort of saying, oh, you know, I'd like you to be the lead voice, the play-by-play. And I'm like, what? He's like, yeah, I've checked out your stuff on Wrestle. And I'm thinking, oh God, because there's just so much stuff on there that's like, for a lot of it's in character, to be fair, and people don't get that, and that's fine. And there's a lot of ferocious stuff on there. I don't pull punches. I have a very contentious viewpoint, as people know. And I've upset a lot of people with that, but I've also gained a lot of friends from that, because people know that they're always going to get honesty from me. But it was that thing of like, you know, like I remember going into the locker room and to get my gear, and you got Yeston Reese sat there, this Leviathan of a man, like just the specimen. Like, you know, so many alpha males. And they're all sort of looking
fucking at me. Shreddy. I walk in and fucking Shreddy stood there. Jesus Christ.
Like, he is. I've never seen anyone with that. Like, he's got a physique that would make most WWE guys blush. Like, you look at it, you're like, wow. Like, oh, fuck me. Like there is and credit to them because the commitment and strength and the energy and the discipline it takes to look like that and present yourself that way. You know, that is all hard graft. But I think what really
and the thing is, Shreddy, lovely bloke. He's absolutely such a sweetheart. But I stood next to him, and I don't. Yeah, but I don't feel like a man in the slightest ever. I've never felt less like a man than I have when I was stood next to fucking Shreddy.
I literally sort of like looked. I was like, do you know what? I'm fully clothed. I feel like I should put more clothes on. Like it's, I feel like a disgusting homeless idiot next to you. And I felt like that with most people. But it also reminded me that everybody always has value if they're willing to work hard. And you're always going to be more important than you realize. You know, the camera guys, Spinebuster Media, you had Tony Ward there. You know, the Troy Grant, excuse me, you had Andy Ward, you know, Y2 Grey Photography. You had me and Tony, obviously, you had you and Jesse doing amazing stuff. And like everything clicked really well. And this is why I hope it does well. And it's not a one-off and things like that. I'm sure it won't be. But it's one of those things where it's like, I really want this to work because we've got now this crew of amazing talents. All the wrestlers were astonishing. You know, the fact that guys came down from ICW in Scotland, the fact that Regan and Rosendahl, Alice Inc. blew me away. I couldn't get over, like, you know, I've always loved Alice Inc. and loved her work from what I've seen of her, and then getting to meet her in person and realizing just how awesome a person she is as well. Like everyone was really cool, really kind. It's very rare that you come out of the locker room and think not a single attitude or ego or problem whatsoever. Everyone was super cool, super receptive, and you know they were interested in what I had to say. And that's, you know, me, I'm sitting there thinking I'm some fat nobody on a podcast. Like why are you paying attention to me? But you know, it was a cool thing to do, and hopefully there's going to be a lot more of that, because that's something that I've always wanted to do. So yeah, touch wood, we'll get there. Right, bit of word association, and then we'll get out of Dodge, and then we'll have you back on more regularly anyway, because you're fucking awesome. Right,
with that. Thank you very much.
These names, I'm going to throw them out there. Give us one word to describe them. So you mentioned him. Why not? We'll start with him. The Jack Stack Daddy that is Shreddy.
Shreddy. Oranges. Just basically, I just think of him, if I had to describe him as anything, just think of like a really heavy sack of oranges. I just see his pecs, I see his muscles, I just think, dude, that should not be happening.
Yeah, he is right.
Yeah, he fucking is.
He is right. L.A. Taylor.
Beast.
Yeah, I've gone similar. I've got powerful.
Yeah, because she fucking is.
Yeah, she is. Like different presence, different gravy, different gravy.
I would genuinely, without any hyperbole whatsoever, I would put her up with Rhea Ripley with how powerful a person she is.
She's one of those women. Like I was very blessed to have her on the podcast when she only just started. I pretty much watched her whole career. I'd like to think we're friends, and I have never seen anyone where I thought, wow, like the it factor just jumps out at you. Think you should be on TV. You should be on TV. Like you've got everything at your disposal. Don't know if you've seen it. I did share it on my Facebook page. Did you see the little thing she did with Sky Smiths and the little nod to Reservoir Dogs?
Yes.
Brilliant. That there proves
to
me that she can do the entertainment stuff just as well as the wrestling stuff. Like everything. She's got all the five-tool player. That's what people call me. But that is the personification of that. Doug Williams.
Classic.
It's a throwback, isn't it?
Yeah. But not just that, a classic human being as a person. I think one of the first people to go around most of everyone and introduce himself and say hi. Such a great presence, and his style as well. Such style. Unbelievable. So I would go with classic.
Kira Kamara.
Hard hitting. That three-way match, and I've got to say Ronnie Knox was fucking amazing in that as well. That three-way match was unbelievable.
Yeah, I thought the women's matches were amazing.
They were.
Yeah, I felt that everyone was incredible, but they felt like the spine of the show, and each match was so different from anything else that you've seen in the night. And their triple threat was incredible. I also love the men's triple threat: Levi Muir, KM Lane, and Nico Angelo was just brilliant. And it's nice, you know. Obviously, I'm going to be invested with one of my best mates in the business, but yeah, no, just utterly awesome. Alice Inc.
Alice Inc. I'd go with powerful as well, to be honest. Again, all the women in those matches, I wouldn't pick on any of them.
Nah, no, I don't want none of that. Regan Rosendorf scares the fuck out of me, by the way. She was one of the few people I didn't really have much of a conversation with. I just looked at her report because she's stunning. And I was just like, wow, I'm super intimidated by you. I just looked at her, I was like, no, I don't even want to go and say hello. I'm terrified of it. I'm sure she's a wonderful human being, but yeah, no, she had an aura about her presence. She felt like
very much so.
Yeah, just she walks in the room, she commands respect. That's very cool. Same with Charlie Morgan. So. Charlie Morgan's somebody that I've watched for years, and I've seen her wrestle at the pinnacle of wrestling. I thought, fuck me, like that's literally, to me, that's like, you know, an average person walking down the street and bumping into, you know, Henry Cavill or Superman. I'm like, whoa, like that's a big deal to me. She's a big talent, and that was the case with a lot of the people. To be fair, all of them were just massive deals. Even someone like Simon Miller, who was awesome. What a cool guy. Like, so, you know, I am literally like BTEC GMVQ homeless Simon Miller. It's Simon Miller, and I'm like, fair fucking play, mate. What a really cool guy as well. So I'm not a fan of What Culture. I've said that on the podcast, and it's not my cup of tea. But no denying his presence, his charisma, his attitude. He is a credit to our sport. A couple
so
more.
we've got a good team here. You're kind of BTEC Simon Miller. I'm Poundland Jim Smallman. I think we work very well.
Exactly. So we need to think of our own progress. Like, I don't know, it's something that's not so progressive.
Trying.
Yeah,
trying wrestling.
Yeah, their progress and we're stagnant. We'll go with that. You never know. But I'll tell you what, when I start my own promotion, I know who's going to be my MC, and it's going to be SilentMark, ladies and gentlemen. And absolutely going to be good. Don't you worry about that. So you're going to be spending more time down south, even though I have to drag you down personally.
I'll bring the kids. It'll be fine.
Yeah, it'll be fine. Alexis Falcon.
Alexis Falcon, star. I will go with star. I think she's going to be one of the people in the country that is, you can see her impact in progress as it is, you know, and I think that's only going to go further.
Yeah, I'd love to have her on the podcast. So one of my hardest things on the podcast is try not to gush over people too much. I don't tend to do that, but every now and then people come on and you're like a little bit starstruck, a little bit hazy. I was like that with Josh Alexander, who's now Impact World Champion. Yeah, I think I'll be the same with Alexis. She's just, again, different gravy. You know, some people just, as soon as they walk in the room, you think, excellence has arrived. That's how it feels. Like it just exudes talent. Amazing. Amazing. Synergy.
Beefcake.
They look like boys I will have a good time with. I'll be excited to meet them, actually, more so than most, because I'm like, meaty hoss. Come on in.
Oh, yeah.
Love it.
Oh, yeah, they're fucking great.
Yeah, they look like a riot. We all need to go out on the smash. Be an absolute riot. The stories that could be told. Fun stuff. We have to mention him. Ethan.
Ethan Edwards, underdog. Ethan came from musical theatre background. Firstly came to an Odyssey show as an Alpha Omega show, as security, and very quickly went up to interviewer when I started doing ring announcing. And then when Evil Lewis became general manager of Alpha Omega, Ethan stepped in to be my fellow ring announcer. was very much an underdog at first, but my God, has he worked to where he's got to? And there's a team behind Odyssey that Ethan's part of. That team are fucking amazing, and Ethan as the face of it as well. Yeah, I could not be prouder of all of them. Definitely started off as an underdog, but yeah.
Can we name drop the graphic designer? I feel like he deserves a lot of
Yes. I'm rubbish with his surname because I keep on forgetting it. I just know him as Brian. But I think it's Brian Fulton, I think it is. This is going to be boring for people. Yeah, it's Brian Fulton.
Yeah.
Yes.
The reason I mentioned that
I was right.
I think there's a lot of snobbery in the media side of wrestling where it's like, don't put over other guys because we're all battling. But like, obviously, you know, he's not getting in the way of any of my work, and I'm not getting in the way of his, and I wouldn't care anyway. World class, mate. Absolutely top dollar. I really put myself on my posters and things. I think I do good work. I really do. And then I look at Brian's work and I go, nice. I love seeing work that's as good, if not better than mine, because it ups my game and reminds me that is what we should be doing on a regular basis. Top quality.
I am in awe of our crew that we've got. So we've got Brian Fulton on that, got Anthony Editor, who does our videos and stuff, and he does the whole show. He edits and films the whole show himself. Tony Knox, who is the photographer there.
Tony's
all his pictures are stunning.
Yeah.
This man makes me look attractive. I've often sent my pictures to people and go, dude's made me fuckable. How did that happen? Our whole media crew is fucking tremendous. And so, yeah, definitely, yeah, massive part of it.
Yeah, like everybody has value, the referees, everything like that. You know, like Chris Woods, Chris Eds that we had at Colosseum, great guys.
And we've got some of the best referees in the country doing it for us. You know, we've got Scott Bell, we've got James Greenwood. You know, and they mean something to us, and they've even got even the crowd want me to introduce the referees now as well, which I've never had before. I'm like, okay, that's fine, I can do that. They're getting chance as well. They're getting more chance than I am, for fuck's sake. Our commentary team. So our commentary team is Simon Hill and Kurt Johansson. Kurt's off at the moment because he's just had a kid.
Kurt does Kurt from Kurt's Angle, the podcast. Yeah.
Yeah. But then Simon Hill as well.
Wrestling as me, so I've got a lot of time for Kurt. Good guy.
Yeah, and Simon Hill as well started off doing. He's done esports commentary and stuff like that, but then we gave him his first deal in wrestling commentary, and he's now fucking flying with that as well. Our commentary team are amazing. Even they're getting more chance than I am. It's beautiful to see.
Right, there's a mission here when I come up, and it's like I'm just going to basically just be chanting SilentMark throughout the whole show. Just
don't. It'll make me blush.
That's why we do it. You got to show love to the people who deserve it most. One word to describe SilentMark.
Shambles.
Yeah, you need a
trying.
T-shirt. We need to design you a T-shirt. Shambolic.
We do. And people. So, yeah, I've said that many times. I've described myself as that many times, and I said it to my parents about the radio show I did, and my mum was like, "No, don't be like that about yourself." And I'm like, "No, it's a positive, because I take what I do very seriously, but it doesn't show because I enjoy what I do, and I don't on my radio show. I don't write much, and I just present it the way I want to present it. Most of the stuff I say in the ring that isn't announcing the matches, announcing the people, and doing all the important announcements, most of that is just stuff off the top of my head, because that for me is where the enjoyment lies, because people feed off that spontaneity. Most of my show is immature. It's stupid. We had one of our radio shows. At one point, the studio was built on a slant. So we decided to do a feature called Evil Lewis Rolls a Bottle of Pop Down the Studio, where we played the Jeopardy theme, And we just had the bottle of pop rolled down the studio. We let the full theme play out and then either went, yay, if it made it, or if it didn't. Stupid. Fucking ridiculous.
Still
One show.
haven't got
Yeah. But one show, we got a phone call. Hello, it's Brian. I went out of signal when you were doing the bottle of pop. Did it make it?
That's when you know you've got something.
That's it. And that's why I say it's a difficult sell. Because if I told you I'm a good radio presenter, I do a feature called SilentMark rolls a bottle of pop down the studio, you'd be like, get out of my office.
Oh, I'll be like, have some money. Yeah.
But that's where everything kind of comes about. I did a feature called What's in SilentMark's Sticky Pocket, where the idea was a competition. The idea was I have something sticky in my pocket. People have to guess what it is. I did a feature called Which Celebrity Are We Rubbing Off? So it was only because it sounded rude, and we had a whiteboard in the studio, and I just wrote the name of a celebrity up on the whiteboard, and every letter that we give to people, I just rub out the letter. So I rub off the celebrity.
Genius.
Yeah.
Genius.
Not that long ago, a local radio station that I shall not name started doing a feature called What's in My Hand. Now, I'm not saying that they stole the idea.
Not Scott Mills. That guy annoys the fuck out of me.
No. But what I will say is the gentleman who did it used to work at the station I'm on.
Aha!
Not saying you stole the idea, mate.
But you stole the idea.
Yeah. Yeah. But that's why I say I'm a shambles, because we come up with these ideas off the top of our heads. I come up with ideas off the top of my head when I do the show by myself. And that's where the passion lies, because I take such pride in what I do. And I take pride in being a fucking idiot.
I love Beyond Radio, by the way. Just briefly.
Thanks, man.
Where can people find you so they can listen to you on Beyond Radio?
So Beyond Radio, I do a show called Another Monday Evening Show every Monday from 7 till 9 p.m. on Beyond Radio in Lancaster and Morecambe on 103.5 and 107.5. We are on DAB around South Cumbria as well, and then all over the world on beyondradio.co.uk.
Yeah, the shows can also be listened back to as well, which is really cool. But gotta listen to it live. That's where it really feels like it gets its money. It's lovely. When I was I remember when I went to uni, I was very anxious, and obviously still am, but I really struggled with interaction stuff. So what I would do is have the radio on at night, because I've always been one of these people who stays up till stupid o'clock. And there was something familiar and something warm, very much like how you leave the radio on for the dogs. I would listen to it and I'd enjoy it, and I'd get enthralled by, the DJs and the characters and the games they were playing and the conversations they're having. And one thing I love as well is your variety and selection of music's great as well. Something very different, not your atypical, radio stuff. There's a lot of nods to indie rock, punk rock, ska, things of that sort of nature. Very cool. If you want to,
well,
I've discovered so much new music just from listening to your show. Brilliant.
Well, I'd like to say I'm the only show in the country that would play Primus, a jazz-inspired version of Driving License by Olivia Rodrigo, and then I think a local musician called Molly Warburton, who is very kind of like electro pop type stuff. Really, really good.
Yeah.
But I'm probably the only person in the country that would play that in order, with no fucking link whatsoever. My roots are very much in punk and ska, but if I think something's good, I'll fucking play it because I like it. There was a song on Billie Eilish's new album, which is called Growing Older. And I listened to it, and I think I still love it as much as I did on the first listen. My heart still pumps as much. It's a beautiful song. It's fucking heartbreaking. But I played that on my show, and my parents listen to my show every week, and just message them, "Did you really play Billie Eilish?" Yeah, just because it's, I don't care what it is, I just like it.
Yeah, good music is good music, regardless of where it comes from. Where can people find you on social media? If they are so inclined to do so.
SilentMark on Twitter, SilentMark on Instagram, and then at a SilentMark on Facebook, because some fucker's already stolen SilentMark.
Some gimp has stolen your gimmick. We're not having that. All right. The protests will begin in due haste. You're one of my favorite people in wrestling, and I've only met
Thank you very much
in person. That's really cool. I meet all sorts of people, and yet to this day, you're easily one of the coolest people I've met in our business.
It's appreciated, man. And for me, I realized that we would be friends the first day we met, where we went into a Wagamama's. I said, they offered us a booth, and I said yes because it's our anniversary, and you did not blink. You didn't say a thing. Yeah, it's like, right, yeah, it's our anniversary. We'd not met each other 5 minutes at that point.
Who wouldn't want to be in a relationship with SilentMark? Come on.
My ex-wife.
Yeah, well, that's her fucking loss, isn't it?
I will give her.
He's mine now, bitch.
I will give her a credit. She's fucking ace. We co-parent my kids. Genuinely, still one of my best friends. So I will make jokes about my ex-wife not loving me. We're still fucking friends. It's
she might have seen you first, but I saw you best. Simple as that. It is what it is. It's been a pleasure having you on, mate. Would you like to come back more regularly and join us on the Wrestle Club to chat about all kinds of...
Yes, sir. Fuck yes. I would love to. It's been an absolute pleasure. And genuinely, you are, again, one of the nicest people in wrestling. So, yes. Yes.
I'm going to clip that and send that to Brian. See, I am a nice person.
Do it.
I have a horrendous reputation just because...
He's lovely. He's lovely, and he's got a wonderful penis. It's like a work of art.
My penis is a work of art. I agree. SilentMark, you are a magical human being. Thank you very much for coming on the podcast, bro.
Thank you for having me, sir.
It has been a pleasure. Don't forget, ladies and gentlemen, follow SilentMark on social media. Check out Beyond Radio. Like you say, I believe every Monday evening, 7 till 9 o'clock. Just money. Really good fun. Really easy. And get along to Odyssey as well. If I'm going to make the 650-mile trek to go and see Odyssey, you've got no excuse if you live up there. Check it out. It looks fantastic. It looks on point, and they take so much pride in professional wrestling. I haven't been to a show yet, and I'm already a huge fan. That speaks volumes about the lure and the passion of everyone involved in that company. And like I said earlier, anyone involved in Odyssey and anyone involved with SilentMark, if you want to come on a podcast and share your brand and share your stories, you've always got a home at the Wrestle Blog side. Make use of it. I've always got time for you guys. But yeah, from myself, Aeron Nix, and most importantly, from SilentMark, thank you very much for joining us at the Wrestle Blog. We'll catch you very soon for more content. Some good, some bad, some indifferent. There you go. Bye. Love you.
Love you. Bye.
Love you. Bye.
Yeah.
Oh,